1971 was a decisive turning point for India. The Indo-Pak war was at its peak, and the emergence of Bangladesh was becoming certain. But as India's victory grew more likely, a new danger appeared: the entry of America's Seventh Fleet into the Bay of Bengal. The war between India and Pakistan was no longer just a regional conflict. It had now become a part of the Cold War. To escape the atrocities of the Pakistani army, millions of refugees had entered India. India launched decisive action against Pakistan for the liberation of Bangladesh. While the Soviet Union stood firmly by India, Pakistan received support from the United States and China. This was no longer just a war between two countries. It was on the verge of becoming a global conflict. Pakistan, troubled by India's success, found an ally in US President Richard Nixon, who began to interfere directly. To pressure India, Nixon deployed America's famous Seventh Fleet into the Bay of Bengal. Officially, this mission was for the evacuation of US citizens, but in reality, it was a strong warning to India and a gesture of support for Pakistan. But India was not alone. In 1971, India and the Soviet Union had signed a historic treaty of peace, friendship, and cooperation. This wasn't just a piece of paper. The Soviet Union backed India with its full strength. The treaty stated that if any power attacked India, it would be treated as an attack on the USSR, compelling Moscow to intervene militarily. After Pakistan launched Operation Searchlight in March 1971 to crush the Bengali independence movement, New Delhi and Moscow signed the agreement. The planned US intervention in the 1971 war came after India officially recognized Bangladesh as an independent country on December 6th. 2 days later, Nixon's administration ordered the 7th Fleet's Task Force 74 into the Bay of Bengal. At the same time, Britain sent its powerful aircraft carrier, HMS Eagle, into the Arabian Sea. The deployment of US and UK carrier groups was part of Washington's larger strategy to encircle India from 3 fronts. But this plan failed. As soon as the US sent its fleet, the Soviet Union dispatched its navy to support India. A powerful Soviet task force, including nuclear submarines, surrounded the American fleet in the Bay of Bengal. The message was clear: any US interference would mean direct confrontation with the Soviet Union. Soviet submarines monitored US warships both above and below the surface, effectively blocking their path. Though Soviet warships and submarines had missiles with ranges under 300 kilometers, they boldly risked moving closer to counter the US and British fleets. Soviet precision in this maneuver was unmatched. An intercepted communication between the British commander and the US commander revealed the shock. "Sir, we are too late. There are Russian atomic submarines here and a big collection of battleships." Behind closed doors, US officials worried that India might escalate against West Pakistan. The Soviet Union, moving quickly, deployed additional destroyers, submarines, and anti-carrier task forces into the Indian Ocean. By December 15, as US warships entered the Bay of Bengal, nearly 20 Soviet warships were already present, forcing the American Navy to halt. Reports at the time suggested the USSR had 12-15 ships in the Indian Ocean, including nuclear-powered submarines. This was one of the Cold War's most extraordinary diplomatic and military standoffs. Without firing a single shot, the Soviet Union's presence stopped US intervention and allowed India to continue its campaign unhindered. Finally, on December 16, 1971, Pakistan surrendered and Bangladesh was born as an independent nation. It was a historic victory for India, made possible in large part due to Soviet support. The Soviet naval presence had prevented US interference, ensuring India's success and speeding up Bangladesh's liberation. The 1971 war was not just a military conflict. It proved that timely international cooperation could completely change the course of history. The Soviet Union's decision to stand firmly with India and to block the US fleet became a defining moment, not only for India and Bangladesh, but for South Asia as a whole. History remembers not only victories, but also the friends who stand beside you in times of crisis. And on that note, we conclude this episode. Hope you liked it. We'll be back soon with another topic. Until then, Jai Hind, Jai Bharat. Do you also want me to make this into a shorter YouTube-style script? Fax narration 60-90 sec for quick storytelling?